just for you. Here we have Contrasim, Aleph, for the previous Rebbe. This is a mimer that the previous Rebbe said in 1927 when he was released from prison and sent into exile in a place called Kostroma. And when he was there, he said a mimer, a Chassidic discourse. In the Chassidic discourse, he said a series of them, really. And the Chassidic discourse says that why is it good that the Jewish people are moved from place to place? Why is it good that the Jews go into exile? And he said that there's a midrash that says that improves them. For instance, they left Egypt and they went out into the desert to Mount Sinai and they said, Na'aseh before Nishma. They said before they received the Torah, we'll do it, God, we'll do everything it says and then we'll understand it. First we'll do everything you say and then we'll understand it. Says the Rebbe, what's so good about that? Why is that such a big improvement? I mean, sir, anything is an improvement, bringing a slave in Egypt. But why is that an improvement? Even though that the Jewish people would not agree with you. When the Jews left Egypt, they always wanted to go back to Egypt. They kept wanting to return. So any normal person would say being free is better than being in Egypt. But it seems the Jews don't always fit into that category of being normal people. They were made trouble for Moses and they wanted to go back to Egypt. One explanation is the Jewish people have what's called the Yetzer Hora, a destructive impulse that wants to destroy their Judaism, self-destructive. And one of the things, the big antithesis to Judaism sometimes is what we call a comfort zone. Fear, anxiety, worried about change, being afraid. And the whole essence of the Jewish people is change, to change the world. And here the Rebbe says that's one of the reasons why the Jewish people are taken from place to place and exile and things like that, to remind them of this awesome message. That's the job of the Jewish people, to be brave. And that's why God, we call God Elokeinu. Why do we call God our God? Do you remember they brought the example of the television? How you remember? Right here in this room is pure godliness everywhere. Do we see it? No. Well, the Jewish people are also in this room is television waves. You want to perceive the television waves, you bring a television. That's the only proper vessel. You want to perceive godliness, you bring a Jew. A Jew is the vessel for godliness. We don't see a Jew as different than anybody else. Well, the Rebbe says, yes, maybe in a revealed way they're not, but potentially every Jew is a television set. So like you look and say, I don't know what you're talking about. Here, you want to see television waves? Here it is. That's sunglasses. It looks like sunglasses, but it's really a television set. Watch this. You turn this. All of a sudden, wow, that's amazing. Same thing. A Jew, he looks like everybody else, but really they're not like everybody else. The Jews are really a vehicle. What do you want? A tool. An instrument to reveal godliness in the world. What happens when you see godliness? When you see godliness, you see that Hashem is creating everything all the time, tremendously dynamic. Everything has a purpose. Everything is here for a reason. Everything is attached to infinity. Suddenly everything becomes really infinitely meaningful and important. Life becomes exciting. That's why people went to the Holy Temple. Dynamic. To see that Hashem wants us to change the world and to change ourselves. God made the world in such a way that it has to be changed. Asher bora Elokim la'asot. That God created the world that we should change it. Man was supposed to change it. The first man, Adam, was supposed to change the world, and he did not do it. Because he didn't do it, so see what happened. Hine, behold, davar zeh, this ability to reveal the Creator in the creation this ability of the Jewish people to do exactly what God wants and to make God happy, nachat ruach, this ability for every Jew to fix himself up and reveal the, television inside of him, the instrument for sensing and feeling the goodness of Hashem, and the positiveness of Hashem, the love of Hashem. Hine davar zeh, this thing, b'kol echad b'echad miYisrael, is in each and every Jew. Afilu, even elu apshutim, even the simple Jews, biyoter, the most simple Jews. Are you with me? You're not.
No.
Page Kuf Ayin Ches.
Opposite 354.
Opposite 354. I did say 354. I wanted to work you in gradually, not just one time. The opposite 354. Good? There we go. Hine, davar zeh, this, koach kol Yisrael, is in the ability of each and every Jew. Afilu elu, even those hapshutim biyoter, that are very, very simple. Biyadiyat chachmat Torah, and knowing of the wisdom of the Torah. You have Jews from Russia that they don't know they're Jewish. Their mother didn't know that she was Jewish. The grandmother didn't know she was Jewish. Hine levavam er, nevertheless their heart is awake. Lit karev, to come close, El Hashem, to God. Good? Still not on the right page. Kuf Ayin Ches. Kuf Ayin Ches.
Sorry.
Elavai uladovka bo, and to say, come close to God, and to cling to the Creator Yisbarech. How do you do it? Al Yadei, by means of Otiot Torah, by means of the letters of the Torah, but Otiot Tefillah, and the letters of prayer. Hainu, namely the Otiot Elu, just saying the words of prayer and saying the words of the Torah. These letters are not human, normal letters. These letters are different from all the other letters of all the books in the library, even the Israeli libraries, where all the letters are in Hebrew. The letters of the Torah, notnim koach, they give power, they give courage, they give happiness, b'neshamos Yisrael, to the souls of the Jews.
What if you're reading something sad from the Torah?
Doesn't make any difference. Even you're reading the book of Job, right? Saddest thing in the world. But nevertheless, those letters bring out the good in the bad things. They bring out the good in the bad things. Everything that there is in the world, everything there is in the world is for us. Nothing happens to us. Everything happens for us. Sometimes it happens for us to improve ourselves, to make a self-investigation, self-accounting. Sometimes we have to change ourselves. There's a famous book that was written, which I read from this I read a lot of other, by Viktor Frankl, Professor Viktor Frankl, that he was a psychiatrist, and then he went into Auschwitz. He was put into Auschwitz. This is in the time of the war. When he went into Auschwitz, he was in his 20s. He was already a famous psychiatrist. And when he was in Auschwitz, it changed him totally. The ideas, he had the basic ideas of what life is about before he went into Auschwitz. Already then he was dealing with suicidal cases and helping people and saving people from this. But when he himself was put there, so he said that if you ask him, he said, and that the Holocaust made more people religious than took them away from religion. The Holocaust. That's what he went through it. He said, why? It's like a fire in a wind. If it's a small fire, then the wind puts it out. If the fire was a strong fire, then the wind just makes it greater. So the things that happened in the Holocaust were unspeakable. You can't, take the most savage cannibal in Africa, something like that, that this could not get even to 1,000th of what the most sophisticated and cultured Germans did to other people, systematically torturing them and finding new ways to kill them.
Logically, rationally, what you're saying sounds correct, but there's this perception, and maybe a false perception, that the Holocaust turned a lot of people off to.
Good. Okay. Listen.
You see here, the Holocaust survivors is really. I mean, they were damaged, and through the
damaged is no doubt. Damaged is absolutely no doubt that anyone who saws a person drives his car down the street, runs over a cat, right? He has to go to a psychiatrist now, right? He's all shaken up. He doesn't know what to do. Right? Why did this happen to me? And why did I kill this cat? And here you saw dead people, your good friends, your family getting killed, laying around. It didn't even bother you after a while, right? You saw dead bodies. You didn't even, you weren't even affected by it. Of course, and death was in front of people all the time. But the fact, here we have a Holocaust survivor, and he was also a very, very intelligent man, and he was not a religious man. He didn't become religious, so he wasn't trying to, to make excuses for God and show that, don't leave Judaism. He was just saying a simple fact. And he wasn't talking about religious faith. He was talking about faith in the Creator. People have faith in the Creator. He personally was an Austrian Jew. For an Austrian Jew to do any commandment is a miracle. It's a miracle, because in Austria it was just unheard of. You have Freud and all these people. That was just the most simple thing in the world. Freud said as soon as a person starts questioning the meaning of life, it's a sign that he's sick. I think these people were really empty people when it really comes down to it, and they made up empty philosophies. But nevertheless, that's not the point. The point I'm trying to say is that sometimes misfortune can break a person. But on the other hand, like it says, if it doesn't break you, it makes you stronger. So it's true. It's a test. It's a terrible. Nobody wants a thing like that. Nobody wants a thing like that. But nevertheless, there it is. It's inside of every Jew. And sometimes, when there are difficulties, this brings out the Judaism in the Jews. When there was the 6-Day War, for instance, there was a 6-Day War. People, non-religious people, were running to the Kotel to put on tefillin. People that had no idea. People all over the world were waking up. The Rebbe said it was like the Shofar Gadol of the Mashiach. He read a mimer about it. People all over, Russians that didn't know they were Russian, and Americans that were totally hated Judaism, they all woke up to some degree or the other. Right? They all were. And the state of Israel, the government of Israel, it calmed everybody down. It threw water on the whole business. It wasn't an action. It was just our army. We would have a good air force, and it was just an accident. We had our backs to the wall. We had no choice. It wasn't any miracles. It had nothing to do with God. It had nothing to do with anything. They gave the Kotel back. They gave the old city, the Har Abayas. They gave it to the Arabs. They tried to make peace in front of the whole world. We're sorry. We apologize with this. It wasn't our fault. We're not a conquering nation. We're not a this and that. And God was totally left out of the whole thing. So after a while, people got the point that, these are the leaders of Israel, and they all say it wasn't God, so who are we? Who are we? So the Rebbe once spoke very harshly about people who say that the Holocaust is the reason that they're not religious. The Rebbe once spoke very harshly about this. He said, how could you use the death of millions of people that died al Kiddush Hashem as an excuse for your laziness and your... You want to say you're lazy. You don't want to say you don't like Judaism. Say you don't like it. Say it's too many laws. Say whatever you want to. But don't use the Holocaust as the excuse. You can't understand the Holocaust. No one can understand it. It's impossible to understand. But nevertheless, I'm going back to Viktor Frankl. That's how we got into this whole thing. He said that if you ask him, this totally unexplainable tragedy, that there's no other word for it, tragedy, that it strengthened more people than it weakened. And those people who were weak when they went in, so it extinguished a little bit of Judaism, practical Judaism that they had. And those people that weren't, V'hainu the othios elu. Okay, so it says you want to strengthen your Judaism. You want to bring out this inner point. Is the letters of the Torah. The letters. Therefore, it is important that when you teach children, here it is, the otiot atzam, the letters themselves, hari yesh behem kedusha, they have holiness. Lochen, therefore, he's hiru meod. Therefore, we have to be very careful. Bechiyuv limud otiot aleph beit. We talked about this in the last class. When you learn the aleph beit with children, v'limud zeh, v'limud atamim, and you teach them also the vowels. Kometz aleph o, patach aleph a. Why teach children like this? L'limud zeh gufa yesh bo kedusha. It has holiness. The koach Elokai and power of God. Just to teach the letters of the Torah, this is a godly thing. Shema'orer akochot penimin, that it arouses the inner powers of the soul. Right? How do you learn it? When you learn English, when you learn this, how do you learn? You learn words. The letters are there just as a vehicle to bring ideas. Right? What are the letters there? They're just a convenience. A convenience to pass ideas from one person to another. They're a convenience. The main thing is the ideas. That's the main thing. Do you understand the book? That's the main thing. Right?
Certainly the words.
Right?
The letters mean nothing.
The letters mean nothing. The only thing, if you say that the book can be translated into French, into English, right? It's the same thing. As long as you get the ideas across, that's the main thing. In Judaism, it's not that. In Judaism, of course, the ideas are of utmost importance. That's why God gave a book. He wants to teach. The word Torah means teaching. But the holiness of the Torah is the letters. The holiness of the Torah is the letters. A person can know all the ideas of the Torah, all the ideas of the Torah. Everything. He can be an expert. And there are people that were like this. They knew everything that there was to know. Yerovam ben Nevat and Elisha ben Avua. These people were geniuses that we don't have geniuses like that today. They know everything that there was. But they forgot the main point. What's the main point? Where did the letters come from? Where did this book come from? Where is it coming from? Right? These letters are miracles. Don't bite your nails. These letters are miracles. They're miracles. The letters are miracles. Huh? The letters are miracles themselves. The letters come from God. If a person reads, when they reads the Torah, he realizes these letters are coming from God, right? Then it's a whole different feeling. A whole different idea. Of course, it's hard to believe. You have millions and millions of books in the library. The letters come from God. They don't come from God. You come in Israel, the hundreds of thousands of books. Who knows? The letter totally nothing to do with God, against God. They're written in Hebrew, but these letters in the Torah, they come from God, and that was one of the first steps. That what we call the Enlightenment Jews used in order to wean children away from the holiness of the Torah, is that the letters aren't holy. The whole Torah is a bunch of ideas, and we have books with better ideas. Right? You ever read Kant? You ever read Spiegel? You ever read Spinoza? You ever read right? Spiegel, nothing personal. Hegel and Leibniz. Ooh. What? He was another philosopher. Yeah. Marx and Spiegel. Marx and Spiegel, they weren't together.
The thing is that these guys, even though they were taking Hashem out of it, they were teaching the Hebrew alphabet. Something.
They were. How do you say? Devaluating the Hebrew alphabet.
Well, but still, they were teaching as opposed to not teaching. No, they could have taught English.
Would have been better. A lot better. A lot better. The whole movement was a movement to normalize Judaism. The whole movement was a movement to normalize Judaism. But everything depends on you. Forget about God. And once in a while, that was what happened in the 6 Day War. As soon as they won the 6 Day War, which was an obvious miracle, right? They don't teach the 6 Day War in any military academy in the world, right? In any military academy. There were people that learned it from West Point. They don't teach it. It goes according to no principles of war. You cannot depend on any of the methods, tactics of war that they used in the 6 Day War. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing works. Nothing would work. You have to have pilots that flew 3 days, jet flights, jet fighters, pilots, 3 days in a row without sleeping. No, you can't do that. A jet pilot, he makes one little mistake, falls asleep for a second, that's it. And they flew without, and every single shot was exact and everything. But the movement was to this very day. Says the Rebbe, the letters of the Torah, we can see that those people who learn in such a way, yesh b'hem yirat shamayim, they have the fear of God, an inner fear of God. Va'alulim, and it is possible, lit orer l'kol davar inyan eloki, and they are possible, it is potential, that they will eventually wake up to any Jewish thing. I just heard a story yesterday that two fellows told me, two rabbis, there was a Farbringas last night. One said that they sat in their house in Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan somewhere, and they were singing. They made a Chassidic Farbringan and they were singing some nigun. Could be they had a little vodka to drink, maybe a little more, and they were singing this very heartful nigun. All of a sudden they hear a knock on the door. No, knock on the door. Somebody yells from downstairs. What are you yelling? What are you singing? It ends up it was a fellow that he learned in Chabad, and he wanted to get a certain job as a teacher, and they rejected him for whatever reason it was, and he became bitter and he left Judaism totally. 20 years ago, he was driving down the street. It happened to be a stop for a red light, and he heard that song coming from the wall. All of a sudden, he just couldn't believe it. Right? It woke something up inside of him. Who was singing this song? Right? And he went back and he said, he woke something up inside of him. Masha Ein Ken, when you stand out in the street and you ask people to put on tefillin, and you see that it wakes up something inside of people. People, yes, okay, they've been waiting for someone, You saw it. Masha Ein Ken, which is not the case of lomdim, people that learn Torah. But ofen acher, in another way, hine metamtem, it stuffs up, Rahman al-San, God forbid, mochem belibam, their brain and their heart. Kanoda, like is known from what is written in another place. If you forget about the godliness, the miracle of the Torah, the letters of the Torah, how can it be that God, who is infinite, writes a book with letters? Doesn't make any sense. Right? Either God is not so great as we think. Maybe he's not so great. Letters, what's God talking letters for? All the other religions, some holy man goes into mountains or somewhere, and he comes back with a message. Right? He comes back with a message. Or he has a book that's written by some angel or something like that. I want to say God himself wrote a book, and he gave it in front of 3 million people. They all saw it. They all saw the tablets that God himself personally wrote. They saw Moshe going, why would God write a book? What purpose is it? What's the meaning? So the answer is that's what holiness is. Holiness is something that's much, much more alive and demanding than we can possibly imagine. That's the letters of the Torah.